There's three reasons I always believe that people run for office, and I break it simple down. One, it's for an ego and a name plaque. The other is for fiscal or financial gain. Unfortunate. It happens. There's people in office. Let's take a look at the federal level.
That's a good point.
They do. And the third one, if I have to tell you what it is, but it really is, I just give a rip. You care. You want to serve.
Right.
And you're not an enemy to anybody. What I feel at the county level is the first thing that the governor or the state legislator should be asking before they pass another bill is, who's paying for it? And if they can't pass it without paying it there, don't tell somebody else to go paint their house. Tell them what color it is, and then say, you cover the cost. That just doesn't add up.
What do you got for me? Yeah, what do you got for me? Baby, would you stand and fight?
Chairman of the Monroe County Board of Supervisors, Mr. Cedric Schnitzler, welcome to the Speakeasy. I've given you a little bit of an intro here. You have taken a look at my broad collection of speaking. This is a real basement bar in my real home. So welcome, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Great to be here. I appreciate this, Chris.
Yeah. Well, for those of the audience who are not familiar with you, just give them a little bit of a background. What led you into a life of service as you are here in Monroe County?
Well, it's interesting. And I was thinking about this question, not that it was poised early, but I've had other people ask me, hey, why are you involved in, county government, or I've been in town government or other civil. It goes back to when I was like 10 years old, and this is going to be kind of interesting to go down this lane or down this road. But when I was 10 years old, I took a real interest in the presidential elections. Of course, I was Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan.
Not to age yourself now.
I'm 10. I was 10 then, but I was, watching that race going back and forth. And this is the funny part about all this, is that I remember watching the results, and I remember watching Jimmy Carter lose, and I cried. And everybody says, wow, I say that now, and I'm like, wow, and I said, well, who's this Reagan, but I cried. Jim, they beat our president as a young kid. That's like, well, they just took our president. No, think about that. And then I started listening to Reagan. And I'm telling you, I did a report on an English class about Reagan, and then the book was Dutch. Miss Jeffson, I remember the name. She gave me a D. Of course, that's no surprise, but I fell in love with what Reagan was talking about. And, it wasn't, it was a simple message. He was the real McCoy of communicating to the people. It was the reason he was a great communicator. He loved people. There's stories about him, and I don't want to go, I'm not here for Reagan. I'm here to talk about us. But there's stories about things he would do for people you never heard about, never seen. That's what real life's about. That's about giving. That's about serving. And so anyway, long story short was, then Reagan, when he ran, I was 14, and it's like, I got involved in Young Republicans. There was a gal named Audrey Johnson. She was a local historian for the county. Another gentleman, George Lundy, and I always called him the political mama and a political papa. But they got me involved, chaired the Young Republicans, and then it went from there to delegates to the states, or the district meetings. And then, it was off and running. And I've always, I have never missed a presidential convention to sit and watch. Even if I don't like some of what I see, I'm still doing it for the wisdom or the knowledge, I should say, that you see.
Well, just it being a part of the experience and part of making history, it's important.
I remember watching, it was like in 1984, actually, that we were in Chamberlain, South Dakota, and it was in the KOA campground. And no TV out where we were staying, but they had a TV on, and it was in there, and there's a 14-year-old or 13-year-old sitting in the office watching the convention. I mean, it's kind of kooky, nice. But that's what it was, So, I didn't ever realize I would, I just had a desire to serve once I got involved in that. Things evolved, and I was 26 at the time, and I actually took on a 9-year incumbent of the board and started down that road at the county board level. So obviously that was going to be 30 years coming up. and had success. You know, I had multiple people supporting me running for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never do it alone.
No, and I'm grateful for, I remember some of the names that did phone calls. I did door to door, sent mailings, won the primary because there was a 3-way primary.
Oh, wow,
I beat
nice.
the primary. I was the top go-getter, even to the incumbent. And then the secondary, I closed the gap, finished it, won. Later on, the gentleman and I beat off Stan Herman. He's now since passed. He's a gentleman I actually respected growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, why was you running it? Because I just wanted to participate. I can't say anymore. I wanted to participate in the game. But anyway, he come up to me once because we had the privilege of, I went and beat him off the county board to turn around, and they appointed me chair of the township, and he was a sideboard member that did that. And I had the privilege of working with him, but he always jokingly said, well, the Republicans beat me off that county board job, but I'm sure glad as a township chair, you share with me, you communicate. It's something I've never seen before. And he was grateful that we served. And so I had a lot of good respect before and after with him. And so
nice.
That was the governing part of things with, and I left the township and stayed on with the county. I was vice chair at the time, and stepped off a couple of times. We had some, family issues that come up with young kids.
Sure.
I had a one-time situation where actually it would have been our last child that was born at St. Mary's Hospital or Mayo in Sparta, and it was like 5 a.m. and 9 o'clock. I walked across the street to the law enforcement committee or something like that, and
oh wow,
I didn't care. I was might as well do it.
Dedicated.
Come back, got done with the meeting, and then I guess went home, and Ma came home, baby came home, and I went to the barn. But
gotta get back to work.
Yeah. So there's always been a drive to serve, and you got to love people to serve because your patients can get tested many times over. Whether it doesn't matter which level, it's still going to have your testing.
Well, even in your family, I was just having a conversation with my daughter. Like, okay, thank God she taught me patience over the years.
If you pay for patients, you're going to be tested. Period. That's just the way it is. There's always a cost, not a cost, but there's always a stepping stone.
Yeah.
To the next,
Yeah, that's a good point. The old saying of like when you pray for patience, the Lord will put those opportunities in front of you to practice it.
And then he'll say, you asked, so here it is.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, that was, that in a nutshell is how some of that started. I remember a couple of things key, as I grew up, I remember my mom always saying that, she said, I can see you being in politics. I can see that. When I was in college, she said, just always remember they want the real McCoy. I use that phrase, but it's what she said. She said, you literally can relate to people if you've literally been in the gutter shoveling the what.
Right on.
Because it happens. It's real life. Farms have changed, but they're still shoveling what sometimes.
Yeah.
And she said, never lose touch of that. And so that was one of those things that you can transform yourself to being, yes, you feel this is where you're led to go or want to be involved. And I always say, I say, well, why are you serving, or why did you jump into the county or the town or even the state race 2 years ago or a year and a half ago? There's 3 reasons I always believe that people run for office. And I break it simple down. One, it's for an ego and a name plaque. The other is for fiscal or financial gain. Unfortunate. It happens. There's people in office. Let's take a look at the federal level.
That's a good point.
They do. And the third one, if I have to tell you what it is, but it really is, I just give a rip. You care. You want to serve.
Right.
And you're not an enemy to anybody, but an open dialogue to everybody. So,
yeah. That's a good way to put it. I was talking to Congressman Van Orton about this. I think it was up in Wausau during the state convention. And the way I put it to him was the 3 types of people who I felt get in office. There are predators, there are prey, and there are protectors. And it doesn't quite overlap with what your descriptions are, but it's a little bit. Because like I think about it, the predators are the ones who are trying to, just prey off of others. And I think the way you put it is even better. The whole ego trip kind of thing. But then that, like you said before about the people who give a rip, I would put them in the category of protectors, people who want to help protect taxpayers, or in this case, from the predators who are, trying to get more from them. But yeah, it's interesting that I like the way you put it. The ego trippers, the financial gainers, and then the people who really just care about their community. So well put.
But no, again, I feel good. And anytime anybody has to tell you, stand up and tell you why they're running, not a bad question. It's a good question. It's relative. Then there should be a check, if you follow what I'm saying, as to why you're times.
Well, and like you said too, I mean, it's just a matter of, it's a good way to test what's in someone's heart.
Yeah.
And I like the way you put that. Very well done. Well, and you've been doing it long enough. Obviously, all of your voters appreciate what you're doing for them.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I can't say it enough. Just public serve, I don't care what level it is. If it's not even on a board, but just making a phone call to somebody to say, how's your day going? Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's somebody you just met. It still has to be about the people.
Yeah.
And protecting the people, as you had just said a little bit ago. But it has always been, and we always will be, about the people.
Yeah, well said. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is definitely related to that. I can't remember if it was you and I were talking about it, maybe at the oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. At the county fair, maybe? I don't remember exactly where it was. It was either you and I talking about it or John Christie, a mutual friend of ours. But it was this idea of a legislative, is it a legislative luncheon that you guys have in Monroe County?
Oh, legislative exchange.
The legislative exchange. Yeah, that's it.
We just had one. Apologize, I had something in mind.
Excellent. Yeah. Tell me more about that. How does it work out? How did it get started? And like, if we were to do something in La Crosse County, what would be a good way to get it going?
So really what this started out is that at the WCA, they actually have probably for the last 8-10 years, maybe, I don't know. They have what they call a legislative exchange. It's been a while, and before that's the name. Okay. I just want to pause you there.
Okay.
But prior to that, the Chamber of Commerce is in Sparta or Toma, particularly Sparta would have, and Sharon Folsey, great friend of ours. She's since left us as well, passed. She had chamber legislative breakfast. It ceased when she left, retired from the chamber. And I remember going into our county administrator and I said, Tina, let's do a legislative exchange. Get some coffee, some donuts, start out, WCA will come, local legislators, federal legislators, county, let's pick 3-4 items that are key to county issues and say it because it is relative to a county issue. And sit down with them and have a banter back and forth of, this is what we're going through, this is what we're hurting, this is what we're doing. We are an arm of the state. Counties are all arms of the state.
That's right.
We can go deeper into that later, but so that's what we started out with. So it's been going on, like, I want to say, probably 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, something like that. A little longer maybe, but it's got to be close to there. And so we do it quarterly. We kind of let the summer run because people are out of session, everybody's doing vacations, but we just had one here on Monday, well attended. We had Assemblywoman Nancy Vandermeer, Assemblywoman Joe Billings, Pat Tesson couldn't make it, Greg Walbernick from Tammy Baldwin's, and Molly actually last minute had something come up, so we didn't get Van Orden up there. But we've always had those. And I mean, it's, again, we get updates on feds. We started down the road of constantly, when it's a budget cycle, we talked about the issues relevant to what county needed. There's always legislative things that are popping up that are just regulatory that need to be discussed. This last time we had the regulatory discussion of property tax. When it came to the town of Greenfield, Dave Pierce, he's the chair, serving two roles, town chair, town and county role. But they have a case where they have their assessors for the township, but then they also did not have an assessor, because the state steps in and does these manufacturing assessments because they had the sand lines.
Okay. Yeah.
So they did the assessment, but the assessments were really, really bad off. I mean, off the
Interesting.
mark, and the fact that we ended up having a chargeback because it was overassessed, and the township, in this case, had to deal with like $240,000, and
Wow.
so they don't have that kind of money, and it's not their assessor that was hired. So that just giving you a break that, and it's been, county worked with the towns to get that, paid up, make whole the schools and the tech schools, and but again, it is a legislative nightmare, or a regulatory nightmare that the towns are being penalized. They don't have that kind of cash flow.
Right.
Go sign up to the bank. They got to pay the interest. So the county worked with them. That's how that worked. But the legislators weren't aware of that. So that's a good regulatory example of, hey, we need to let the state, from my perspective, you are providing for the assessor. You need to go good on the assessor's mistakes, or at least have a what's the old phrase? Insurance. What do they call that? I'm drawing a blank here, but there's insurance that.
Like property mortgage insurance or something.
Similar to that. But anyway, that was one of those issues, and great topic for the legislature to talk about. And then we had a drug court graduate that was successful.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And
that's a great thing to celebrate.
Yep. So we gave her a little plaque and thanked her, and she told her story to everybody, which, people were just grateful to hear success.
Yes.
So
definitely something to celebrate.
And every month, I can already tell you that, where next one's going to be January 26th. It'll be at 9 a.m. at the Monroe County Assembly Room. Legislators have already been told our first topic is going to be, honestly, suicide prevention and Chapter 51s and the human services, along with our veteran service officer, how we feel we can work this. There's some things that they need to tweak. More warning signs, whatever,
I know Congressman Van Orden's been pretty big on that topic too with his veterans work.
Yeah, I just read that. I read an article about that, not actually last night, I think it was. But that's one of the topics. And there'll be something else that'll pop up. Maybe it'll be a road, transportation, something that's coming down the pike at the federal, who knows?
Yeah.
But
I did nerd out a little bit. Let me grab my blue book. So I nerded out a little bit with the blue book. And I was looking through here, and forgive me if you don't want to talk about this, it's fine, because I really nerded out. I was looking at Monroe County total property tax and values, and I was trying to compare it to the way La Crosse County looks. And you've been in this for a while. Help me understand how this works. So, as I'm looking at this, $3,934,664,700 of value in Monroe County, and then $71,144,729. I assume that's the number for the taxable values or something like that, and then 16.79. 16.79 is what is that part? The
personal property.
That might be it, yeah. And then in La Crosse, whatever the numbers, the totals, I don't need to go through that, but it's 17.86. So La Crosse County has 17.86, and Monroe County has 16.79. I don't know if that's the assessed value percentages or something like that.
Yeah.
How does all this property tax stuff work? Can you help explain that to me? Because you got mill rates, you got levies. Help break that down for me.
Well,
without nerding out too much, but if you don't want to talk about it.
No. I'm fine talking about it because, I've been on finance quite a few years, and I wish I had our treasurer sit next to me, but that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Deal with no, that's fine. So, the assessor comes out, they're going to assess your property. That's the basis.
Yeah.
And once that's done, then there's a levy, so much as you can levy. We're locked in levies at the counties, cities, towns, municipals at, I forget what it is.
So when Governor Walker had the property tax freeze, then so that's like a freeze on the levy?
That is a levy freeze, other than new construction. And I think there was, and again, I don't have the numbers, but I want to say it's new construction, or in this particular case, we went up this last year 1.9%.
Okay.
Like $167,000 that we could levy additional dollars in Monroe County. It could be a little bit higher, but it wasn't much. And that's our new growth money that we are allowed to increase.
Okay.
The problem with that is, and there is a problem, and I'm not advocating for higher property tax, so let's just get that straight, because I have another solution that I...
Well, and like I said, I mean, it's a complicated formula that
it is.
I'm trying to understand myself.
So you really have assessment, you have levy, and then you have the mill rate. And the mill rate, I guess I'll put it in my terms, like on my property taxes. So I built an addition to my house.
Mm-hmm.
My agriculturalist gives me a little break because we have beef and some crops, but mostly beef. When I built my addition on May 1st or whatever that magical number is, the assessor comes by and says, whatever you have then is what we're going to assess based on the open book. And then they'll apply that to the November tax roll on assessed value.
Right.
That in itself translate to, when you put everybody together, how much of a levy increase you can have. I'm not trying to get too nerdy or whatever, but that's what that does. But then the next year, that property tax of mine, when it shows, oh, you put on a $60,000 addition, now your assessment is going to reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
Legit increase, yes. I knew that was coming because I put that out there.
So the formula changes because the assessment goes up.
Correct. So then, in the net of it, the mill rate is what is officially set by each district, meaning in this case, Monroe County's levy, and then the mill rate translates into what everybody, and when you put them all together, you got school,
mm-hmm.
Tech, Monroe County, township, that makes your mill rate. You roll them all together.
Okay.
But the levy for us in this last year for the county, we actually are going down. Why is it dropping? Like, I want to say, well, proposed, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say it's like 30 cents lower,
Yeah, whatever it is.
But again, my levy's going down, my assessment went up, the mill rate probably going to stay stagnant, hopefully, except I see there could be some tweaks with the school system. That's just based on another formula, which is really something I've never really served on a school board, and I've never got into the school. Nothing against that. I'm just saying that there is a different formula there, and that's even more complex.
Okay.
So,
yeah, because then you get the state. I
always equate it to this. I don't, and if it's a bad equation, I mentioned this once to our former treasurer, Annette Erickson. She was 30 years. And I said, so Annette, this is how I break it down. It's going to cost so much to go out on a chartered boat. Cost me $120, cost me $5,000 to go on a chartered boat. The more I have in that boat, and they don't care how many goes, my cost drops. And if you theorize, not saying it's the right, is if the assessments are equally proportionally across and they're all on that same boat, they're all in that, you should see by far when they do complete revaluations.
Yeah.
You can, and 9 times out of 10, and she'll tell you this, and I've had other treasurers, your levy and your mills should go, or your levy should go down at least at the county standpoint.
Because because there's more people spreading it out?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
The pie never changes. The pie can get bigger, but the pie is always spread.
There's more slices.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, I know that's the equation we've always talked about this, and I always say, well, let's talk fishing charter, but whatever. And,
well, and I like that analogy too, because ultimately the reason I bring it up, I'm preparing to run for county board again myself. And one of the things that I just don't understand well enough, because the village of Holman has been growing considerably, but my taxes are not going down. So there's more people paying them, but it's, something's not right there to me.
your growth of services or in most cases, it's always related to
good point
costs.
Right. Because there's more suburbs.
Yes.
They need those services too. And those services, like trash service, water service.
They laugh at this comment. You'll understand it, but kind of like the old Jaws, you need a bigger boat.
Right.
Seriously.
That's a good point.
So.
But and I guess that is the ultimately what it comes down to. It is very complicated. trying to wrap my head around it. It's a struggle.
And it like last year, our property taxes went up in the town of Sparta, significant for schools. And everybody said, wait a minute, they said it wasn't going to go up. But then when the formula,
that referendum got passed.
Yep. And the assessment or the value in our township skyrocketed wise as far as, and then we got a bigger portion of the bill.
Yep. So it is interesting that
that made the levy go up on that, which drives the mill rate in the big picture. So.
I mean, like I said, bottom line, it's a very complicated formula, and there's a lot of variables that go into it. And I think getting involved, everyone should get involved in the community and take part in this.
I totally get it. I really do. And there's gonna have to be more discussions at county levels, townships, cities, services that are mandated, non-mandated.
Well, like you said, the counties are an arm of the state government, and if the state mandates something, then they have to provide it.
Yep. And I don't know your numbers in La Crosse County, but I know our budget this year is going to be $90 million for the county.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
22 of it's levy. There's about 4.1 of that is mandated services in the Human Services Department only by the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They're telling.
Oh.
Someone's at the front doorbell.
That works. Must be more trick-or-treaters.
Yeah. So the reality is anytime the state passes on a service and they mandate it but do not fund it, it's a hidden property taxes on the local. So one of the first things as a county, I'm just saying this sincerely, it's one of my biggest pet peeve, one of these things that when I ran last time, and I'll be honest, would battle hard on this one again, is that if the state of Wisconsin wants to get some real property tax, this is a good example. There's other ways. Pay us for your mandate. Because what happens is, now we'll go to the levy, back to the levy. $4 million is levied in Monroe County for human services that is mandated. If we didn't have that mandate, but it was covered by the state of Wisconsin, what would that do to your property taxes?
Mm-hmm.
Or what would it do maybe for other areas of the service areas that we do need that we're not getting done? Roads, updated buildings. So I will always say you can't keep passing a mandate onto the people and then not pay for it. At the county, state, city, town, whatever. Shame on Madison. They've lost touch with that. They think it's great to pass a mandate, makes them look good at a photo op because, we're providing this, but the county's got to pay for it, or the city's got to pay for it, or the village has to pay for it. And it's baloney.
Yeah, that's
just baloney.
The first thing that I think of when you say that is what you were talking about earlier with Reagan and some of the things we learned from him. In the 1980s, he was saying the government is not the solution to your problems. The government is the problem. And I think this is a great example of one of those things that, do we really need this, like you said, health and human service mandate? Do we really need the government to do that? Or can we allow the private sector? Can we allow charities? Can we allow the people to take care of each other and leave the government out of it so that these types of mandates don't end up coming down to a county? That's the kind of philosophy that I would take into these considerations every single time. And to your point, it's the state government. They need to have more accountability, more responsibility.
I mean, it's in our court systems, how they mandate whatever. It's in our law enforcement, what they have to do. The county sheriff here, he could give you a laundry list, or even the jails and different things that are all mandated. Courts are mandated. District attorney, victim witness, which I'm not. I think they need the victim witness. I get it. State of Wisconsin is supposed to be paying 80%. I think we're at 45 or 50% now.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
So victim witness is supposed to be a covered service.
Interesting.
Up to 80%. They've never done it. They just never do it. That's another mandate. So, I mean, you can go down through. You got to have so many individuals. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have some of them human services. What I find is so unrealistic is if the state of Wisconsin believes it's a mandate that you should perform as a service at the local level, why aren't they funding it?
They should be paying for it. Yeah. No, that's a great point.
If they're not, then why is it a mandate?
And maybe that's something that we can pressure our legislators and our governor candidates who are getting ready to run for governor next year and say, look, if you're going to have a policy that mandates something on the counties, then make sure there's a funding component.
You referenced Reagan, and I have sat many times at a Reagan books and different things. And one of the things I was always told, and I think it was a Deaver that was his chief of staff or knew him personally,
Mhm.
his good friend. But Reagan always had a question when there was a proposed bill that he should support or not support. He said, how does it hurt the family?
Ooh, that's a good way to look at it.
And I always translate that to say at the state level, and the difference, I don't want to sound like somebody else right now. Sorry, my dentist surgery I had here. But anyway, what I feel at the county level is the first thing that the governor or the state legislator should be asking before they pass another bill is, who's paying for it?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't pass it without paying it there, don't tell somebody else to go paint their house. Tell them what color it is, and then say, you cover the cost. That just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
It's time to send a message to Madison. The governor, first question he should be asking is, who's paying for this? Because the county can't do this anymore. And they refuse to do that because it makes them feel better as long as they,
Right.
so the first question is, how does this hurt the counties? How does this hurt the cities? How does this hurt the townships?
How does it impact the families?
And then how does it impact the families? It's a hidden tax on the locals that nobody talks about. You always talk about property taxes, levies, and all this. Money that's levied that's not funded or mandated but not funded by the state is a hidden tax on every man, living child in Monroe County, La Crosse County, and it's time that changes. I can't say, I say that all the time to our legislators, got to get rid of these mandates. Or if you are, you're going to fund them.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. I think the reason it bothers me so much is because, like you said, it's all for just egotistical stuff. They want to look good in Madison. Well, we want our neighbors to be successful and prosperous here. And so for them to come, I think you nailed it. If you're going to pass a policy, then you better fund it. And that's ultimately the bottom line. But to your point, I would even go back another step before it even gets to the floor of the legislature. And I've mentioned this to a couple of legislators, like Senator Pat Teston, for example. And I've said, how about the single question of where in the Constitution are we authorized to even do this?
Mm.
Let's start with that question, because that's the way our government is supposed to work. The government is supposed to work, and it's from the federal level especially down to the state levels, is a limited government. The people are supposed to just handle things on their own. But when the government gets in the way, and I just had this conversation with my daughter because we were talking about the government shutdown, and I said, have you noticed what's happening while the government's shut down? When the government's contracting and now people are complaining about SNAP benefits not getting to the counties and to the communities. And I said, have you noticed what's happening? And she said, well, I did notice there's a couple of people on Facebook organizing food drives.
Mm-hmm.
I said, exactly. When the government gets out of the way, people help each other. We don't need the government in order to help our neighbors. When the government's in play in a lot of these things, it is a disincentive for neighbors to help each other, because then they just have an attitude of, well, the government's going to help them. I don't need to worry about it. No, people helping each other is far more effective.
Yeah,
Get the government out of some of these things.
I think you bring up a valuable point, and I say this, I faithfully say this, that churches need to do more.
Right on. Right on.
I'm going to say that boldly because I think they do. And I'm saying they don't, but I think they need to do more.
Yeah. We need to push the government programs away and let the churches and the charities be more.
Synagogues, churches, synagogue.
No, good point.
Private sector, and
more private sector, more people helping each other instead of waiting for some government bureaucrat to do it.
Again, there's services that the counties will provide that nobody else do, and I'll be honest, we have to protect that particular issue.
Well, especially when you're talking about EMS services, law enforcement services, these are very important things.
Even mental health issues pertaining, that's a broad spectrum, and I don't know how far we want to go down that road. Everything is mental health lately, but I'm sincerely saying there are some real mental health issues that we need to be dealing with, and
That's probably an area where the counties and the state can team up and come up
They
with
can.
better solutions.
And that's one of those topics. January 26th, here we come.
Yeah.
So, but no, I can't say enough property taxes. It's these mandates. They just drive me nuts.
Yeah.
I always come back to that, and I'll be sitting in a finance meeting. Somebody will bring up, well, why do we do this? Even the other day, the county just passed a resolution asking the state legislature and the feds to basically, if you will, support the SNAP,
Mm-hmm.
because here's what was coming down. Feds said, no, we're not doing it because
Right.
of the shutdown. The state saying, we don't have the money. Well, there's no money at the county level to pick this up either, folks.
Right.
So we're not going to stand as doormats
That's right.
to people that have already committed back to the mandate. You fund it, you pay it, you passed it, you fund it, you pay it. That's fine. We implement it, but we don't have the money to implement it. So
Right.
there has to be,
And this is
So I couldn't help but say it's another mandate they almost could pass on.
Exactly.
I don't want that.
And that is exactly the point and why I'm glad we got into this topic, because I honestly believe this is a perfect opportunity for us to really prove to each other and to our neighbors, us helping each other is a far more effective solution than waiting for some pinheads in the government to come and help us. And I apologize for saying it that way, but that's honestly, it is not the government that solves these problems. It's each of us helping our neighbors. That is the best solution.
Back to the people.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's the way to do it. I think that is the best way to do it. And we've gotten too many of these, like you said, too many of these policies that end up as mandates on the county. Let's just focus on the roads, the safety, the EMS, the first responder services, and the infrastructure services. I think if we can focus on those things at the county levels, it frees up a lot. It frees up entrepreneurs to come up with innovative ways, entrepreneurs and even charities and the innovative things that they come up with to help each other. It's a beautiful thing when you let liberty happen.
Yep. No, I just read something last night. I don't think it was Reagan, but it was somebody else that said that, or maybe it was Adams. Ours is a republic that is bottom up, not top down. And the Constitution was there to reign in government. The Constitution wasn't there to reign in the people. I'm putting in the terms that relative to the 20, and that's really where we're at in some of this.
Yeah. Well, and again, I harp on this because it's on my mind a lot. We're coming up on 250 years of our nation's birthday. And I keep thinking about this a lot. I was just talking to Congressman Tom Tiffany about it. Restore American Liberty Initiative is what I call it. Getting back to the basics of what this country, how we were founded, the principles that really work well when they're allowed to. And liberty is a key to all of it. And the way he put it was freedom, liberty is freedom, the coin of freedom, and on the other side is accountability.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a nice way that he put it too.
Well, liberty is a fire. All it needs is oxygen, and it'll grow.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I'm going to steal that from you. That is well put. I like that. Yeah, well said.
Property tax. I just got to touch. I had this little discussion with Assemblyman Vandermeer not too long ago, but they do need, mandates is one thing. Property taxes, we got to take a look at the state level of trying to, I don't think you can do it all over one night, but they've got to take a look at if you're retired, primary home, no property tax. They're going to have to figure out a way to, I'm just going a little deep on that one because it's something I think that's relative. There's sales tax, there's revenue that they could backfill that to the schools and the towns and the counties.
Yeah.
So that there's a break there. Property taxes are strangling everybody at that level. And there is this, they want the service, but they don't want the tax or some of that too.
Finding the right balance.
Right balance. The mandates, there's one thing that is a big thing first. And then try to help out seniors. And I know I'm just saying that's something that.
Right.
Why we have a migration problem. They want to leave the state. We want them to stay here. That keeps the economy going.
Yes.
Cold weather, they love our Packers, so they'll stay, But seriously, we have a lot of things. We have the 4 seasons. People still love it.
Yeah.
But that little deterrent of, oh, I don't have to pay property taxes here. I'm retired. I'm out of here. I don't have to,
It's expensive for a couple who's been paying
Yeah.
all their lives.
it is.
That's a great point. I never really thought about that as far as trying to find ways of balancing it so that, well, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, we have a very large aging community right now, just the way the demographics work.
Yep.
What do they call it? The boomer generation or whatever? The baby boomers, right?
Yep.
Boomer, I think, is more of a derogatory term that people use.
I'm getting, I'm 55, so
Yeah, but we're
10
Xers. We're
Yeah.
Gen Xers.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, I think you're right. It's trying to find the right balance for the demographic that we're trying to serve in the communities.
Mhm.
That would be an interesting conversation. Did Representative Vandermeer have any ideas
No,
about
I
how to
just called
craft things?
Strasser, and she knows that's something that they're going to probably be dealing with at the state level, and even different representatives, even on the Democratic side are saying, hey, we got to do something different. How we do
Yeah.
this, there's been victories to help take some of that mandated, well, not even really mandates around, but additional, like the sales tax that we got back for shared revenue at the county level. That's helped on property tax, but it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
The dollar, and that's a monetary product, but our dollar isn't worth anything right now. I mean,
That's another good point.
inflation gobbles it up because the dollars have devalued. And of course, we get into the discussion about the national debt and blah, blah, blah.
I was just going to say that's a nice
problem.
segue into maybe a conversation about how, like you were saying, the national level impacts the people here in our counties. What was it, today or yesterday? The president ended up signing a deal with China for more soybean sales.
Yep.
How does that impact Monroe County?
Well, I run beef, and of course we probably feed some soybean in our mix, but
so the soybean doesn't really impact you directly.
No, I don't. We don't harvest or runs. Neighbors have always done it. Not on ours, but I've helped, crop here and there. But I watch the markets. Mine was always. I had 30 years of dairying. I remember when NAFTA was put in, and I was one of the Republicans that said that was the dumbest thing that they did, because NAFTA, we couldn't send our dairy north of the border.
Right.
And if we did, it was a certain 5% increase each year. 5 years, we couldn't do anything. Then there was a tariff on it going north to Canada.
Yeah.
So free trade was never really free trade when it came to dairy industry. So, I don't want to go down the tariff road, but I'm just saying that was an impact of the dairy, and we crashed. We were $9 milk, $10 milk, thank you, NAFTA. So that was another story. But to the soybean issue, it's a struggle on a regular year. This year, it would help that, I see the futures now at over $11 last night, and struggled for $9.50
right
during the summer. We're sitting on a few soybeans. I'll just say that we got to sell. But in fact, I told my brother this afternoon, I said, they are 11. He said, yeah, I know. But we're small potatoes. I mean, we're flake of sand on a beach when it comes to what we would have impact on. But in the big picture, for all of the other soybean farmers in the area and the state, and anytime you can get trade deals that market your product, it's going to have a positive impact. Anytime that there's a penalty by saying, well, I'm just not going to buy eggs from the neighbor, or soybeans in this case, or dairy, whatever, it is a negative. But let's face it, agriculture has always been a struggle. You just have to be smart. You have to be competitive. You have to be efficient.
Well, frankly, it's one of the reasons why I got into computer programming. My first job was baling hay on my uncle's farm. And that was the biggest lesson for me. I want to get into software engineering.
I'm grateful for the farmers. Again, I'm
100%.
That the contracts go up even more so. The inputs are just killing them. The fertilizer costs, we know it.
All that overhead, yeah.
But and it's, again, they're all getting bigger too. It squeezes a little guy. There are markets for maybe organic products. That's what I stayed in with dairying was organic. I couldn't compete at $10, $11, $12 or $14 milk. And I had $38 or $27, $100. That kept me competitive, during my last 10 years of dairying. But no, it's good news there. I think that'll help overall the purchase of anytime. It really is. But we could have a bigger discussion about when you start figuring what we're spending, I've seen what it is, everybody, the beef issue. I mean, we raise beef and I'll be honest, adamantly oppose imports of beef. I'm like,
is it Argentina where we're getting? Yeah, I had heard about some of that too. And tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, Argentina beef coming in to try to, we'll just say, lower the price of beef, but you start figuring out what you're paying per pound for coffee or different things. We still got to. I'm not saying beef's cheap, but it's still a good deal for what you're getting. It's relative to your, it's a protein. It's all in one.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see a flood of foreign meat, not knowing necessarily where it comes from. What they do or don't have. We really want whole food, growing in our country. And I firmly think that's good business for us.
Yeah.
If you have an agricultural economy that's growing, you can go back and trace this back, and I know you like to do that kind of stuff. You'll see if the agriculture is flourishing, the country is flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
If you see agriculture floundering, everybody else does.
Yeah. My dad was a truck driver, and it was very similar for the trucking industry. If the trucking industry is floundering, the whole country is floundering.
Yep.
And agriculture, you can see those trends over time too. That's a great point. And I read an article that I thought it was a really good one from a rancher in Texas. And I can't remember her name, but she was talking about how the price of beef isn't high enough for the cost of what it costs to actually do the ranching and the production of good quality beef.
And I think we have to be understanding that the conglomerate of who owns these processing plants is driving a lot of this too.
Oh, nice. I never thought about that.
I mean, you talk about how many pork processing facilities in the country, or chicken, or beef,
That reminds me, Congressman Tom Tiffany had some legislation recently about, it was just that. It was about the processing and how there's all kinds of regulations about where you can go get your beef processed. He had some change in legislation that would make it easier for beef producers. You don't have to drive, hundreds of miles away to get your product taken care of. And I don't know. Do you know the details on that? Because I'm drawing a blank.
But I understand. The only thing that I would key in is that, the latest thing is that the governor is proposing these certain fee increases at the stock market level or the shipping fleet level. That's a non-starter.
Yeah.
It's a bad, I'm not saying
it's just another hidden tax.
Correct. And more importantly, it's a bureaucracy implementing it, not a legislator or even a governor, quite frankly, doing it. It's a bureaucracy. And anytime bureaucrats have their way with the people, we have problems. So.
Yeah, because they're unaccountable to the people. Yeah. They don't have to worry about losing the next election.
No. And Reagan said the next best thing to eternal life was a bureaucrat. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, Reagan said a lot. We can learn so much by just looking at his history and studying his speeches.
His history went back further to what the founding fathers, even,
He was aligned very nicely with the original principles of this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice stuff. You know what? We've been going at it now for over 45 minutes. I think I've got plenty of content here. If you want to get out of here and enjoy the rest of your Halloween.
Whatever, I'm grateful. That's fine. Yeah. I'm going to take supper home for the kids. So.
All right. Well, before I let you get out of here, tell the audience, what's a good way to get a hold of you if they want to reach out for more details?
I'm not afraid I can give you I have actually my cell, I got my cell number, or you just want my...
Yeah, whatever, however you want people to get a hold of you.
My email address is cedric@centurylink.net.
Okay.
Just real simple, CEDRIC@centurylink.net. I'm not afraid if you want to give me a holler. I'm in the phone book in the Sparta area. You still have the landline. I'm one of those old-fashioned yet on that. I have my cell phone, too, which is listed in the book at the county level. So either way.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time and spending it here in person at the Speakeasy. If you ever want to have another opportunity in here, let me know.
I think so. Yeah, I really would.
Hi, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like this content, then please visit cooleyconservatives.com and click the Buy Me a Coffee option to leave us a tip. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Truth Social. Oh, and you can get our content in your email inbox once a week by subscribing at cooleyconservatives.com. Thanks again. Take care and God bless.
I want you, need you to know